Hey, welcome back, everyone, here to Veteran Nation on NRN. And before we get started with today's show, I just want to remind everyone that you can go to www.nrnplus, all spelled out.com/VN, and you can subscribe to our network. It's $79.95 for the year or $9.95 for the month, whichever you choose. I would take the deal. But that's all up on you. When you subscribe, you're going to be supporting independent journalists here at NRN. You're going to get access to all the things that I do behind the scenes at my show. You're going to get access to the other shows that are on here. There's a lot of great people who are just independent people doing what they want to do here. And today, our show here, we're all about helping all the veterans out there, getting you in contact with nonprofits, with different things, telling your stories. And it's really good today to get back. We're going to have a nonprofit on here today. And the thing is, we haven't had one since December, so I'm really excited. And today's organization is called Heal the Wounds. And I've got Jeff here joining us today. Jeff, if you could just start us off by telling a little bit about yourself and your organization.
Well, Mike, let me start off by thanking you for allowing me the privilege to come on, and thanking you again for your service to our country. I preside over and chartered an organization called Healing the Wounds. And my background, 20 years of service to country. I've just dedicated since 2004. I've been on the front lines in many different areas, doing my best to help people and kids. Healing the Wounds. We chartered it to help the children of our nation's fallen heroes in both law enforcement and military, which you know. But I spent about 37 years up in Alaska as a hobby business in the summer to clear my head from all the other activities I was involved with. I have a master's degree in business administration. I retired from 20 years in mortgage banking, and you probably relate to it. My last official corporate position was with Great Western Bank, which was the second largest lender. We're California based. I don't know if you remember it or not, but our headquarters was on Wilshire Boulevard in Beverly Hills. And John Wayne was our company spokesman. He was then replaced by Dennis Weaver. John was already gone when I came on board, but I had the opportunity to spend some time with Dennis Weaver, who was a good guy. So anyway, my whole background's been patriotic. I come from military lineage. And I just decided it was time to do something for kids in this country, in particular those that have suffered significant losses. As you know, the worst thing that could happen to a child is losing a parent. And it puts a lot of pressure on that remaining spouse to not only take care of all the things that they would have to take care of household-wise, finances, everything else, but while they're wrapped up in that, they've got young children at home to take care of. And a lot of these kids are in really tough environments. So we started the organization, and the idea was to provide them with an opportunity to learn, to build self-confidence and leadership skills, and have it be highly educational. So we decided, once again, to charter Healing the Wounds as an organization and take these children out of their current environments and bring them into a wilderness situation. And that's what we want to do. We've got a camp program that they're going to start off with up in Alaska. So here's a wilderness retreat, but it's educational. While they're up there, and by the way, it's going to be supervised under the direction of 3 college professors, University of Alaska Fairbanks, oceanography, marine sciences, along those lines. But we're doing it there because we also have a place that will enable us to expose them to a dozen different potential career opportunities. Year-round support will include educational programs. That's when they come back from Alaska. We're going to have a 24/7 call-in center where they can call, because crisis management, that's what it's about. Because a lot of these kids are, like I said, they've been having a tough situation. They have nobody to talk to. And then we want to develop an internship program through which they can secure marketable job-related skills. So anyway, Mike, the fall of 2019, we hosted a pilot program, and the U.S. Army reached out to us. They've got 20,000 kids under their wings alone. That doesn't include kids in other branches of service or even law enforcement, families that have lost, once again, kids with lost parents in service to the community. So we decided to host a pilot program. The Army referred a half dozen kids. They were representative of the 20,000.
Mm-hmm.
I had them in New England, the New England states, Connecticut, New York, and Rhode Island, well, Massachusetts. And we simulated the Alaskan program. I kept them busy for a week. I spoiled them rotten. It was probably the best week of my life because it was so rewarding. But what I took from it is that the best way to heal one child is with the assistance of others.
Mm-hmm.
And they really did. It was heartfelt. They arrived as strangers. They left as loving siblings. We didn't experience one disciplinary issue through the whole week. I had, there were plenty of opportunities for these kids to be less than kind to each other, but that never happened either. One day, we had them up in the trees. They were 30, 40 feet high in trees in an aerial obstacle course, zip lining around. And one boy, I wouldn't describe as physically fit. He was heavy. He was a little clumsy. He wasn't. But, he was scared to death. And you saw him up there, 30, 40 feet in the air, and he was trembling. And the other kids were just encouraging him along. Come on, you can do this. You can do this. You're going to make it one step in front of the other. It just blew me away, Mike. And one of the things I wanted to share with you, like I said, it was an action-packed week. But I think the most important thing that I put them through, 3 years ago, in the wake of the Parkland Massacre, which we just were experiencing, it's been in the news this week, of course. I was honored with an opportunity to serve on an advisory board. It was a task force to advance ideas on what we could do to prevent school shootings and things of that nature. Something that was close to my heart, one of the recommendations I advanced, we were there for 2 days as a portable think tank, was that I feel that every child should be certified in life-saving skills, first aid, CPR, the use of an AED, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Because I believe these kids, if you teach them to save lives, they're less apt to take them. So the day that those kids were up in the trees for 6 hours in 90-degree weather, that afternoon I took them to a facility. We had 2 instructors waiting. This was 7:30 at night, by the way, after a quick late lunch, early dinner. And we put them through a American Heart Association course. Not one of them blinked. Nobody yawned. They sat and gave these instructors their full attention. And what blew me away is the most important thing to them before they left. Well, 2 things. They came up to me and said, listen, Mr. Epstein, we can't wait to get our certification cards in the mail. Because it was something that, it was a tough course for them, but they learned something, they took something away from it. The other thing is, when you get your permanent program going, can we serve as mentors to new kids that are arriving, coming into the program, because we can help them, we've been through it. And that was what I took out of the program. Just like veterans help other veterans heal, children help other children heal. It's just incredible. So the reason I'm here is we captured the highlights of that pilot program. I hired a professional crew. These guys, they were really good. Nothing was scripted. And they interviewed people and they followed them around. They edited it down to a 12-minute movie. I'm releasing it now. I'm releasing it in support of a fundraiser. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not. I hope you get a chance to watch it. the body of that video, that short movie, I sent to Afghanistan. And the reason I did was because the gentleman that's on our advisory board, Captain Michael Hawk, Green Beret retired, was out there last year, was working for the State Department, involved in search and rescue missions for the State Department. So he was on the front lines, and he basically shot the head and tail, the submission on the permanent movie. But he called me up and he said, my God, he said, you know what, I don't know what happened, but it wet my eyes. And that's been the same impact it's had on the dozen or so people that have seen it to date. We wanted to be operational last summer, but we couldn't do it because of COVID. Now we're looking at this summer. And you know, Captain Hawk, Michael's best known for a series on the History Channel and Discovery Channel. He's an expert when it comes to survival. He and his wife had a show called Man, Woman, Wild. He intends to be on the ground with the kids as much as possible, providing them personal instruction. So basically, in a nutshell, it's a developmental program, it's educational, and we want to help. We really do. We want to cultivate these young kids who really deserve our support into being successful contributing citizens. And they will be stewards of the land because there's an environmental aspect to this. They're going to understand a lot about nature. Now, I'd like to talk about two of the kids, if I may.
Sure.
One of the boys I mentioned before, it's hard for me to believe, but I'm in constant contact with the family. Like I said, he wasn't physically fit, and he wasn't a great student. He came to us. His grandmother, who adopted him when he was 17 months of age, his father was killed in Afghanistan. His paternal grandmother adopted him. He calls her mom. She begged me to let him in the program. I did. I only had him for a week. He goes home 2-3 days later. She calls me up and goes, "What'd you do to come on?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "He's making his bed. He's cleaning his room without being asked. And he's just different." And then she told me that, I knew this, the week prior. He can't have anybody at his house. He lives in a tough neighborhood. He's never had a friend over. He can't go outside without fear of being shot. The week before our event, she pulled into the street with her family in the car, and they took 2 rounds. Driver's side, front, rear fenders. Who lives like this? I don't live like that. But, that's his world, and he's never really been out of it. His brother isn't salvageable. He's in the federal penitentiary. Gangbanger, drug addict, you name it. Robberies. This boy doesn't want to be anything like that. And that's why he rose up. He really did. And he got a lot out of it. But back to what she said to me on the phone, I stayed in contact. He went from F's to A's. It doesn't even sound possible. But as of last week, he only has 1 B. He's on the honor roll in his school. And she's saying, "You guys did it." And I said, how do we do this? We only had him for a week. Last November, she told me that he's now he signed up and he's in the gym. He's working out a couple times a week. About a month later, I called up for a status, and she said he dropped out of the gym. My heart, sank. She said, no, Jeff. He's now on his high school basketball team. As of last week, he's on the wrestling team. Basketball, I guess, because of COVID, fell on the wayside, but he's totally changed, and he's begging me to let him into the summer program. I'm just trying to get it funded.
That's incredibly inspirational. I'm sure it's got to be very rewarding for you. And I can tell you, having been a service member overseas when my child was born, the one thing we're willing to make the sacrifice. The one thing we really hope is that the veteran community and people like yourselves, that if something does happen to us, someone is there to step in just to make sure that our families will be okay. So I think what you're doing with this organization is incredibly amazing. And it sounds like you're having a lot of really good success with it. What kind of brought you to this? What just kind of inspired? Was there any event, or was there anything in particular that made you say, this is what I want to do for people?
3 or 4 people in my life. My dad's brother, World War II veteran, ranking officer, fought his way from D-Day through the Bulge into Germany, liberated one of the Nazi death camps. I grew up in his shadow, and I just knew what it meant to serve our country. I served on a board of, our town had a board of selectmen and a mayor. And I served on that board early on. I was only 23 years of age, but I sat next to somebody that was, had a distinguished service record, Medal of Honor, World War II. My closest friend, 2 tours now, I'm flying in UE. Everybody I knew, I've always been tight to veterans. And I always felt like if a country doesn't respect its veterans, it's doomed.
Mm-hmm.
Because who gives more than our veterans? And it's just been, that's the way I grew up. That's my family. And then looking at these kids and being introduced to children over the years, I used to guide family units. I take them out for bear viewing and fishing trips and stuff. But I stayed in contact with the kids and the parents, of course. And to this day, they're saying the same thing, that it was the best time they ever had in their lives. And I said, who would deserve it more, Mike, than these kids, especially like the one I just described to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had another one I want to tell you about. He's from Rhode Island. Nicest boy I ever met. Really sharp guy. But between the ages of 6 or 7 months and 12 years, he was subjected to 7 or 8 brain surgeries over blood cancer. His grandmother called me. The Army recommended she reach out. And she begged me to let him in the program. But there was some baggage there because he was so bullied in school. He never cracked a smile. She said he hadn't smiled in 5 or 6 years. There's no photograph of him smiling. And she said, please, this would be good for him. So I brought him in. We had him smiling within an hour. I took 2 grandmothers and those 2 boys that I described to you, put them on a boat, my boat, taught them everything I could about seamanship and coastal navigation. And I took a back seat and I let them run the boat. And then we pulled into a beach inside of Nappertree Point, Rhode Island, which is near Watch Hill on the Connecticut, Rhode Island border. And the 2 of them took off and they ran up and down the beach and they swam together and everything else. And then I took them out to dinner afterward. But they learned something. They had a great time.
Mm-hmm.
And what really got me, I had 7 or 8 people at the dinner table. And I pre-ordered a birthday cake because he was turning 16 that week. The wait staff came over, everybody saying happy birthday. Suddenly, the boy started to quake and the table was shaking. I thought he was having a seizure or something. It wasn't. According to his grandmother, nobody ever treated him with that level of kindness. He couldn't take it. He emotionally broke down. And I sat back and said, my God, you know what? This is my life's mission. So my wife and I have supported this wholeheartedly. We've been funding this thing, probably 80% of the funding over the last 4 years to get into this.
Okay.
And what I wanted to share with everybody, during the month of March, Healing the Wounds is going to host a fundraising contest in the form of a silent auction. I'd like everybody to visit the site, check out the auction, watch the movie, because it's posted. It's the first time we released it. And please help us, but become a member. Make a donation to the organization. If you're lucky enough to have the highest bid, I don't know if it would help you any in the desert of California, Mike, but the highest bidder is going to receive a premium boat. It's a custom boat from the West Coast. The manufacturer is Pacific. It's 23 and a quarter feet or so long, plus, an Armstrong bracket, 250 horse Yamaha or Suzuki engine on the back of it on an easy loader trailer. But it's 1/4-inch welded aluminum plate. They're maintenance free. And I have one because I use them up in Alaska all the time. The Coast Guard station in Alaska has like 15 of them sitting there for active servicemen to use anytime they want to go in the water. But you cannot take this boat to a launch ramp or go into a marina or be offshore without gathering the crowd, especially on the East Coast. Nobody sees it. Let me look at that thing, and how much do you want for it? Because that's typically what happens, Mike, everywhere I go with it. So.
Well, I can tell you, I grew up right off the coast of Lake Erie in Ohio. So boats, that speaks to me. So yeah, that's something I would definitely be interested in. I've got a lot of family. We own boats. We spend a lot of time on the water. Here, I have no water near me, but I'm within driving distance of several very large lakes. So, I would be interested in something like that. But I think one thing about this show is we have viewers from all over the country. A lot of veterans flock to this show just to see what type of things are out there. And, I would encourage anyone to go onto your site, to join, to take part in the silent auction. I think that's great that you have something like that you're doing out there. Do you take any volunteers or anything for several of the events that you hold?
Mike, we're always open to volunteers helping us.
Okay.
It would be a blessing to have somebody come aboard. The next event, what I'm trying to do is, if we're successful with the auction, which we expect to be, we want to secure the property up in Alaska, and we're going to need some people to come up and help us. That would be wonderful.
Okay.
I've got a number of people that are already willing to do so. One's will travel in from Florida and all over the place, in the background is guiding up there, etc. But you know what? These kids are going to experience something they couldn't even dream of. The other thing is, I'd like to add, if somebody out there is a non-voter, but still would like to take a shot at it, we will allow them to bid on the wholesale cash value of the boat. So, and the way we're doing that, of course, is we've got somebody that'll buy out the boat. So, if there's somewhere where they can't use it, like in Reno, Nevada, or what have you, but it's surprising. A sheriff from Nebraska just came aboard, and he's a great guy. He joined our advisory board.
Mm-hmm.
And he was traveling on his plans are to travel down to Georgia in the next couple of weeks because he's picking up a boat. And I'm like, what are you going to do with it in Nebraska? But I guess they have a couple of decent sized lakes over there. So.
Mm-hmm. And that's, because you're saying that, I do want to make sure that all of our viewers know that your program is not just for service members' children, it's also for the children of fallen law enforcement officials, correct?
Yes, but there's something else that we're going to do. And this is really important. I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. Yes, law enforcement as well, but our educational programs that are going to be web-based, I'm going to make available to every child in America that wants to grow. Anybody that wants to help themselves and learn something, I'm not going to preclude them from participating.
No, that's great. I think especially right now when, kids are stuck at home, there's no schools open, a lot of, training for them that they can develop their skills, I think would be very important. So that's really, really excellent that you're doing that.
Well, self-help areas like how to manage your financing, or your personal finances, rather, everything that you would want to cover for children that are reaching the teenage years, so that somebody responsible is there is presenting that kind of information that they can grow. Mm-hmm. So, the summer program is restricted once again to surviving children. Yeah. Not the rest of it, not on the year-round basis. We want to have an impact. I think we could potentially impact millions of kids across the country.
I think you're absolutely right on that. I think, this is a noble organization. I really hope that a lot of our fans reach out, check out your website, and, if you can volunteer or donate, please do. But I think, just putting your website and contact with kids who, absolutely could benefit, I think would be great as well.
And something that shocked me, I'd like to add now. When I was in contact with the Army, when they referred to half dozen kids for the pilot program, I didn't realize, you're sitting back saying 20,000 kids that the Army has alone. How? Sadly, the majority of military-related fatalities right now are PTSD-induced suicides.
Mm-hmm.
And there are organizations out there that are helping Gold Star children. And when we were drafting this, we were targeting Gold Star. And then I sat back and said, my God, when I heard that, these other children, somebody has to take care of them. They're just as valuable. We need to help them, and they need help more. I think we will prioritize Gold Star, but we're open in that summer program to helping kids that. One of the boys I mentioned to you, it was a suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And his grandmother, who lost her son, is traveling around the country talking about that. She was prior to COVID. She was on the stage talking about that toll, and there are a lot of them. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we ever had that on this level in the history of our country before.
When I was active duty, I actually served as a casualty assistance officer. And for those of you who are unaware, casualty assistance officer, you're the individual who goes with the chaplain to a service member's family when they have passed away. And, the casualty assistance officer stays with the family in the grieving process for the next several months, trying to help them recover and know what type of services and stuff are available. So I'm very, very pleased to see that there's an organization like yourself, because there's a couple out there, but most of the things that, as a casualty assistance officer, we talk about are about VA type programs. So it's always good to be able to give those families, hey, here's some other organizations that as you go on and maybe have less contact with me, that you can reach out to for any type of support that you need. So I think that's incredibly important.
And the stories are sad, Mike. I had another one. Military reached out. They had a little girl. She's like 8 years old, which was a year or two younger than what we're focusing on for the program. Lived in New York State. The loss was recent. It was like 2-3 years earlier. A month after her father was killed, her mother went blind in both eyes following neurosurgery. This little girl's got all kinds of issues, but yet she's dedicating her life to leading her mother around by the hand. And I agreed to let her into the program and bring her mother as well, and her grandmother, who was going to do like a 6-hour round trip chauffeuring them to get them there. I mean, imagine the situation that girl was in. She's very shy, very introverted, but yet she begged her mother to let her in because she felt it would help her to be with other kids that had similar backgrounds and experiences. It was so hard. It was touching. It really was.
Oh, I believe it. Now, if you could, because I'm going to put out your website on my social media. We'll also put it out, via NRN. But if you could just go ahead and plug it now, so people who are watching can go ahead as soon as we finish up here today, and they can go ahead and check out your website. If you can plug that for us.
Yes, Mike, and please. I'm just going to basically welcome everybody to come and visit our site. And the site is healingthewounds.org. So that's healingthewounds.org, not .com. And please, if you have the ability, come aboard, support us, take a shot, enter a bid for that vessel, or once again, the cash equivalent, but at least support us. If you'd like to volunteer to help us, we really appreciate the help. The organization is not top heavy. There are no salaries. I'm committed to making sure that 90% of every dollar that comes in the door goes directly to benefit the kids, nothing less. The difference is administrative and, of course, the state licensing, which we're subject to. that type of stuff. But please come aboard. And if you have any questions, call me, send me an email. I'm available. I will talk to everybody. I always do. I'm available 20 hours a day, and I welcome the telephone calls. So thank you.
No, thank you. And one thing I'll ask of you is, if you guys are doing anything else, please reach out to me. I'll have you back on the show. I think it's a great organization that you have. If you guys do any events and you'd like to invite us out to, come and do some videos or something, we would love to support you in that way because I think it's just an incredibly noble venture that you're doing.
Come up to Alaska, Mike. I think you'd have a great time with the kids.
I've never been, and I want to. So you're not discouraging me there. You actually have my attention on that one. So I would love to.
I'll send you a couple of photographs. I think you'd like seeing them. Okay.
Oh, definitely. And again, for all of our viewers, go to the website, check it out. It's www.healingthewounds.org. And go support however you can in whatever way works best for you. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure hearing about your organization. It was great talking with you. And again, if there's anything else I can do other than what we've already done already, please don't reach out. I want to make sure that we're supporting your organization and all the children that you're helping.
Mike, I can't thank you enough. And once again, to your audience, just spread the word. Welcome aboard. Call me anytime. We're there. And enjoy your day.
Excellent. Thank you very much for joining us. And for everyone who joined us and watched this today, please go to www.healingthewounds.com or .org. I'm sorry. And you can also join me. We'll have the stuff up on our landing page at www.nrnplus.com/VN. Again, that's our landing page. Like, subscribe on whatever format you watch our show on, and we're gonna have hopefully have this organization back on, and a lot more others that are gonna help veterans and children of veterans and law enforcement officials. So everyone, thank you for joining us, and thank you for being worth serving. Have a great day.